Everyone, in this video, I want to go through how we go on about building our list using Clear.com and Apollo. So we use a feature called as a waterfall search, which essentially runs your list through 5 to 10 different data providers before actually coming up with a valid work email. So what most people do is they just stick to Apollo. They build their list on Apollo. They validate that data, then put it in their routing sequence and start sending out emails, right? And the problem with this is 99% of agency owners or freelancers are pretty much doing the same thing. So here's how you can personally go on about differentiating yourselves and how you can actually improve your positive reply rates, because we get access to data that not a lot of people are targeting to, right? So what we do is we build our list initially on Apollo, pretty similar to what others do. But once we get that data, we run them through a validation software. So we usually run it through Rion since we have a lifetime deal with Rion. So once we're done running it through Rion, we run the remaining addresses. So let's say you have 100 leads in your list that you built on Apollo. Usually 50 to 60% of the list that you have is valid, right? And then what we do is we run the remaining cells that have either invalid addresses or no addresses through the waterfall search. So by doing this, we usually get access to, I'd say, on the low end, 15% more email addresses. On the higher end, if if you end up being lucky, you get access to 30% more valid addresses than you would previously get by just building a list on Apollo, right? So here's how it would look like. So we build our list on Apollo. You pull it into Clay. Once you're done pulling it into Clay, validate using, if you have if you already have softwares that you've purchased, you can validate using an API. If not, you can use Debounce. And once you're done validating it, you run a waterfall search. So this is a waterfall search. So we used 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have run our list through 5 different data providers here. And the way this works is we're not unnecessarily wasting credits by running a waterfall search on leads that we already have valid email address of, right? We only run it through cells that have either invalid addresses or they have no work email, right? And you can do it by simply applying a conditional formula. I think you click on add enrichment, go to waterfall, click on work, email, configure your data providers depending upon your preference. We usually run it initially through Snove, and finally we run it through People Data Labs. But yeah, you can play around with that. And then finally, just to make sure you're not wasting your credits, just click on use AI, come up with a formula saying, let's say you have let's say you're pulling data from Apollo, and let's say it contains a list of work emails, let's say by the column name work email, right? So you can say something like run only if, run only if let's say work email is empty. So this particular search would only run on cells that are empty and not on cells that already have email addresses in them. So you can kind of play around with this. Again, there are multiple softwares that kind of do the same thing. You have Better, Contact.rocks. Again, they have a pretty similar tech stack. Like Clay, they use Drop Contact, they use Hunter.io, they use Snove, they use Find Email, etc. But again, if you already have annual plans and monthly plans of other softwares, it really doesn't make sense paying an extra amount every month for something like this. So you'd ideally, if you already have access to data providers, it's preferable for you to use Clay so that you can insert in your API keys and not unnecessarily spend money on softwares that you already have access to. But if not, you can use softwares like Better Contact that kind of do the same thing. So yeah, that's about it for this video. And usually, as I said, you get access to 15 to 20% more email addresses that you would previously not get if you're just building your list on Apollo. So yeah, this is something you should test out.